Welcome to Valor Stories. In each episode, we honor a hero awarded the highest gallantry medal, celebrating their courage and sacrifice. Join us as we bring their legacies alive. David Vivian Currie. David Vivian Currie, July 8, 1912, June 20, 1986, was a notable Canadian recipient of the Victoria Cross, the highest military decoration awarded for valor in the face of the enemy to members of the armed forces of various Commonwealth countries and previous British Empire territories. Early life. Currie was born in Sutherland, Saskatchewan, and was the only son and eldest child of David Henry Currie and Mabel Brimble. His father worked as an engineer for the Canadian Pacific Railroad. The family lived in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan from 1913 to 1939. Currie was educated at King George Public School, the Central Collegiate, and Moose Jaw Technical School, where he trained as an automobile mechanic and welder. Military service. Currie joined the militia in 1939 and the regular army in 1940. Being commissioned as a lieutenant and later promoted to captain in 1941. By 1944, he had attained the rank of major. He was awarded the Victoria Cross for his actions during the Battle of Falaise in Normandy, France, in August 1944, while commanding a battle group of tanks from the South Alberta Regiment, Artillery and Infantry of the Argyll and Sutherland Highlanders of Canada. This was the only Victoria Cross awarded to a Canadian soldier during the Normandy campaign, and the only VC ever awarded to a member of the Royal Canadian Armoured Corps. Citation: in Normandy on 18 August 1944, Major Currie was in command of a small mixed force of Canadian tanks, self-propelled anti-tank guns and infantry, which was ordered to cut one of the main escape routes from the Falaise pocket. This force was held up by strong enemy resistance in the village of St. Lambert sur Dives, and 2 tanks were knocked out by 88mm guns. Major Currie immediately entered the village alone on foot at last light through the enemy outposts to reconnoiter the German defenses and to extricate the crews of the disabled tanks, which he succeeded in doing in spite of heavy mortar fire. Early the following morning, without any previous artillery bombardment, Major Currie personally led an attack on the village in the face of fierce opposition from enemy tanks, guns and infantry, and by noon had succeeded in seizing and consolidating a position halfway inside the village. During the next 36 hours, the Germans hurled one counterattack after another against the Canadian force. But so skillfully had Major Currie organized his defensive position that these attacks were repulsed with severe casualties to the enemy after heavy fighting. At dusk on 20th of August, the Germans attempted to mount a final assault on the Canadian positions, but the attacking force was routed before it could even be deployed. 7 enemy tanks, 12 88mm guns and 40 vehicles were destroyed. 300 Germans were killed, 500 wounded, and 2,100 captured. Major Currie then promptly ordered an attack and completed the capture of the village, thus denying the Chambois-Trun escape route to the remnants of 2 German armies cut off in the Falaise pocket. Throughout 3 days and nights of fierce fighting, Major Currie's gallant conduct and contempt for danger set a magnificent example to all ranks of the force under his command. On one occasion, he personally directed the fire of his command tank onto a Tiger tank which had been harassing his position and succeeded in knocking it out. During another attack, while the guns of his command tank were taking on other targets of longer ranges, he used a rifle from the turret to deal with individual snipers who had infiltrated to within 50 yards of his headquarters. The only time reinforcements were able to get through to his force, he himself led the 40 men forward into their positions and explained the importance of their task as a part of the defense. When, during the next attack, these new reinforcements withdrew under the intense fire brought down by the enemy, he personally collected them and led them forward into position again, where, inspired by his leadership, they held for the remainder of the battle. His employment of the artillery support, which became available after his original attack went in, was typical of his cool calculation of the risks involved in every situation. At one time, despite the fact that short rounds were falling within 15 yards of his own tank, he ordered fire from medium artillery to continue because of its devastating effect upon the attacking enemy in his immediate area. Throughout the operation, the casualties to Major Currie's force were heavy. However, he never considered the possibility of failure or allowed it to enter the minds of his men. In the words of one of his non-commissioned officers, "We knew at one stage that it was going to be a fight to a finish, but he was so cool about it, it was impossible for us to get excited." Since all the officers under his command were either killed or wounded during the action, Major Currie had virtually no respite from his duties, and in fact obtained only 1 hour's sleep during the entire period. Nevertheless, he did not permit his fatigue to become apparent to his troops. and throughout the action took every opportunity to visit weapon pits and other defensive posts to talk to his men, to advise them as to the best use of their weapons, and to cheer them with words of encouragement. When his force was finally relieved, and he was satisfied that the turnover was complete, he fell asleep on his feet and collapsed. There can be no doubt that the success of the attack on and stand against the enemy at St. Lambert-sur-Dives can largely be attributed to this officer's coolness, inspired leadership, and skillful use of the limited weapons at his disposal. The courage and devotion to duty shown by Major Currie during a prolonged period of heavy fighting were outstanding and had a far-reaching effect on the successful outcome of the battle. London Gazette, No. 36/12, 27 November 1944. Post-military career. After World War II, Currie achieved the rank of Lieutenant Colonel and served as Sergeant-at-Arms in the House of Commons of Canada from 1960 to 1978. Legacy. Currie and his wife Isabel remained in Ottawa after his time in the Commons, and both were buried in Isabel's hometown of Owen Sound, Ontario at Greenwood Cemetery. An armory in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, has been named the Lieutenant Colonel D.V. Currie Armory in his honor, and Currie Avenue in Saskatoon was named after him. Medals auction. In August 2017, Currie's Victoria Cross and other medals were auctioned for plus $550,000 or approximately $916,000 Canadian dollars. The Canadian War Museum acquired these medals in May 2018 through efforts by the Department of Canadian Heritage and several honorary members of the North Saskatchewan Regiment. Thank you for watching Valor Stories. Subscribe and share to honor these heroes. Until next time, remember their courage.